Wondering how much damage a sword does in Minecraft? This video is going to explain the different attacks, how to do the most damage, and what enchantments can increase the amount of damage you do with the sword. Let's start by explaining the base damage you can do with a sword. Wooden and golden swords do 4 base damage, stone does 5 base damage, diamond does 7 base damage, and the new netherite sword does 8 base damage. Also with swords, they have an attack speed of 1.6, which means it takes 0.625 seconds to recover. Comparing the sword to the axe, the sword is a quicker weapon but does not do as much base damage as the axe. In the Java edition, one of the attacks you can do is a sweep attack. What a sweep attack does is it inflicts damage and knockback to mobs around the one you are attacking. For a sweep attack to be performed on nearby enemies, the recharge meter has to be above 84.8%, meaning the cooldown between attacks, and moving no faster than walking speed. Mobs near the hit enemy will be knocked back and damaged by 1. The Sweeping Edge enchantment, which is also only in the Java edition, can increase the effects of a sweep attack. The maximum level of the Sweeping Edge is level 3. At level 1 it increases the damage to nearby mobs by 50%, at level 2 to 67%, and level 3 to 80%. Also it adds knockback of 80% of knockback 1, so 2.8 blocks, and doesn't benefit from the knockback enchantment. The knockback affects mobs within a 1 horizontal block and 0.25 vertical blocks of the mob you're attacking, or within 4 blocks of you. The next attack is the critical hit. This is a melee attack performed while falling that will do 150% of base damage. For example, with a base damage of 8, a critical hit with a netherite sword can do 12 damage. When a critical hit occurs, star particles will come out of the target. It is performed by jumping up and when coming down hitting the mob. The conditions for a critical hit is that you must be falling, not be on the ground, not be on a ladder or vine, not in water, not affected by blindness effect, not running an entity, not moving faster than walking, and the recharge meter has to be above 84.8%. Let's talk about the 5 enchantments, excluding Sweeping Edge, which we've already covered. The first one is the knockback enchantment. The maximum level is 2, so how the knockback enchantment works is it adds 3 blocks of distance for each level to the base of 2. At level 2, when a mob gets hit, it can travel back 8 blocks. It doesn't increase the amount of damage, it can knock back mobs off ledge, killing them, and give breathing room if you're getting swarmed by a group of mobs or a creeper. The second one is the fire aspect, which sets mobs on fire. It has a maximum of 2. At level 1 it sets a mob on fire for 4 seconds, doing 3 damage, and level 2 sets a mob on fire for 8 seconds, doing 7 damage. It doesn't do damage to mobs that are immune to fire damage, like nether mobs. The only downside is that it can backfire and set you on fire. The next 3 enchantments are Smite, Bane of Arthropods, and Sharpness. Smite is an enchantment that increases the damage to undead mobs. Undead mobs are skeletons, strays, withers, skeletons, zombies, drowned, husks, zombie villagers, phantoms, the wither, skeleton horses, zombie horses, zoglins, and zombified piglins. It increases the damage to these mobs by 2.5 per a level of the enchantment. The maximum level is 5, so it can do 12.5 extra damage to undead mobs. Bane of Arthropods is similar to Smite, instead it affects arthropod mobs like bees, cave spiders, spiders, endermites, and silverfish. The last one is Sharpness. It affects all mobs. The formula is 0.5 times the level of the enchantment plus 0.5 damage to all mobs. So the maximum level is 5. At level 5 it can do 3 extra damage to all mobs. With Sharpness, Smite, and Bane of Arthropods, they are incompatible with each other, so you can only have one of these enchantments on your sword. When it comes to the damage of the sword, there is 3 different things to keep in mind. The first is to have the right enchantments to increase the damage you can do to mobs. These enchantments are Sweeping Edge, Fire Aspect, Sharpness, Smite, and Bane of Arthropods. For example, having a combination of Fire Aspect 2 and Sharpness 5 can increase the amount of damage to all mobs. The second is pretty straightforward, but have the right sword. The sword that does the most base damage is the netherite sword, which does 8 base damage, and the last one is to understand the attacks you can use. At the right moment, delivering a critical hit could finish off a mob.